The power-crazed Roman Empress Livia Drusilla allegedly murdered her husband in cold blood to gain total control of the whole Roman Empire. Some records claim she was the standard for beauty, faithfulness, and humility, idolizing her as Rome's perfect woman. But others say this was Livia's mask that covered the brutal reality of pinning the Emperor Octavian against his own family, dismantling the family of her stepdaughter, and secretly pushing her sons to the epitome of power using unscrupulous plots. Either way, Livia's tactics worked devilishly well and allowed her bloodline to assume the Roman throne for 4 generations. But the question that many historians are still grappling with today is whether Livia could be characterized as a good or bad person. Welcome to Uncharted History. In this video, we will see if history has the answer to this question by peering into the life of the first Roman empress, a life riddled with murder, exile, poison, betrayal, and charismatic beauty. For a woman who would become the first Roman empress, Livia had a fairly normal childhood. Born on January 30th, 59 BC, Livia Drusilla was the daughter of Marcus Livius Drusus Claudianus and Alphidia, his wife. Because very little is known about the formative years of Livia, the first written records of her start in 43 BC. Then 15-year-old Drusilla was married to Tiberius Claudius Nero, aged 39, the newly elected praetor, where Livia's father arranged the marriage. Tiberius was a part of the patrician ruling families of Rome and Livia's cousin. Livia's father and Tiberius joined Julius Caesar's assassination and fought against the founder of the Roman Empire, Octavian, and his 2 allies, Mark Antony and Lepidus, from the Second Triumvirate. During the largest and most brutal Roman battle in the Liberator's Civil War, the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC, where 40,000 men perished from the 200,000 fighting, Livia's father committed suicide, fearing captivity. Her husband, on the other hand, continued fighting, but he quickly switched sides and allied himself with Mark Antony. On November 16, 42 BC, Livia gave birth to her first son, Tiberius. After the Battle of Philippi, the leaders of the Second Triumvirate partitioned Rome amongst each other. Unfortunately, Mark Antony's wife and his brother believed Antony should not share power with Octavian, and the siege of Perugia ensued. In the battle that lasted from 41 to 40 BC, Tiberius allied himself with Mark Antony, who lost the battle. And you probably know what happens to enemies of new rulers, right? Fearing for his life, Tiberius, Livia, and their 2-year-old son had to flee Rome and the wrath of Octavian. Finally, after 3 years of running, Tiberius and his family returned to Rome, after Octavian and Sextus Pompeius, a fervent opponent to the Second Triumvirate and Tiberius's ally, proclaimed peace. Octavian made sure to personally meet with Tiberius and his wife upon their return to Rome in 39 BC. That was the beginning of the end of Livia's marriage. When Octavian first laid eyes on the goddess like Livia, his life changed forever. Octavian was smitten by Livia's unforgettable beauty and instantly fell in love. Livia's beauty and grace caused Octavian to divorce his wife on October 30th, 39 BC, the same day she gave birth to their first daughter, Julia the Elder. It didn't take long before Octavian called Tiberius at his court and persuaded, or more likely forced him, to divorce Livia when she was 6 months pregnant with her second child. Octavian waited until Livia gave birth to Drusus, her second son, on January 14th, 38 BC. 3 days later, on January 17th, 38 BC, Octavian and Livia got married. At the wedding ceremony, Livia's ex-husband was forced to give his wife away to the emperor, just as a father would. After the wedding, Tiberius went home and agreed to take care of his 2 boys, while Livia remained on the throne with the emperor. In 35 BC, Octavian did the unthinkable. Seeing how smart and faithful his wife was, he gave her the ultimate honor of managing her own finances. Proving a smart manager of wealth, she owned papyrus marshes in Egypt, copper mines in Gaul, and palm groves in Judea. The wealth of the humble empress ballooned to dizzying heights. While Octavian and Livia were enjoying life together, Mark Antony, Octavian's former ally, was plotting a coup. He joined forces with Cleopatra VII Philopator, and their fleet met the fleet of Rome in the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. Mark Antony took his own life after suffering a stunning defeat. Upon Octavian's triumphant return to Rome on January 16, 27 BC, the people named him Augustus, meaning majestic or venerable. Despite being the most powerful couple in Rome, Livia and Octavian lived modest lives. Their family became the ideal model for Roman households. Octavian took care of political matters, while Livia took care of the family. She was faithful, dedicated, proud, forever poised and dignified, setting the pattern for the Roman Matrona. Octavian knew that Livia was very wise, so he would often consult her on important matters. According to Roman historian Suetonius, Octavian would make a list of all the things he needed to discuss with his sage wife. He would then take meticulous notes of every golden nugget of wisdom Livia dropped during the conversation. Augustus would consult these notes often. Her power and fame grew exponentially, and she found herself surrounded by a circle of powerful political figures she pushed into office, including her own sons. The younger, Drusus, was married to Antonia Minot, Octavian's favorite niece. They had 3 children, among which the future emperor Claudius. Unfortunately, Drusus died in a horse-riding accident at the age of 30 in 9 BC. Livia's firstborn, Tiberius, married Augustus's only daughter, Julia, in 11 BC, which is where things get complicated. Julia was married to Marcus Vespasianus Agrippa. The couple had 3 sons, but 2 of them died. In 4 AD, Octavian adopted Julia's only living son, Agrippa Postumus, as his successor, along with Livia's only son, Tiberius. Fearing that Agrippa Postumus would inherit the throne, Livia plotted to have him exiled and killed, according to the records by Tacitus and Cassius Dio. These 2 historians also claimed that Livia killed Octavian by feeding him poisoned figs. We don't know whether or not Livia killed her husband. What we do know for certain is that after 51 years of marriage, Octavian fell ill and died on August 19, 14 AD, making Livia, aged 73, the unofficial ruler of Rome. After the death of Augustus, Livia's power grew so immensely that even the new emperor, her son, couldn't oppose her. In his will, Octavian left 1/3 of his estate to Livia, and the remaining 2/3 to his stepson Tiberius. In the will, Octavian granted Livia the title of Augusta and adopted her to the Julian family of Rome. As a result, Livia remained in power until her death. Even though the official emperor of Rome was Tiberius, Livia exerted immense power from the background. At the beginning of his reign, Tiberius and his mother got along well. For this reason, in 20 AD, it became treason to speak ill of the emperor's mother. But their relationship deteriorated rapidly by 22 AD. Tiberius now loathed his mother, who was exercising unimaginable power in Rome. Unable to control her, what could the emperor do? Fight the old Livia for power, or leave for Capri? He chose the latter. When his mother fell ill, Tiberius quickly returned to take care of her. Shortly after Livia got better, he left. For some strange reason, in 24 AD, when Livia was 83 years old, she was granted a theater seat among the Vestal Virgins, priestesses of the Roman goddess Vesta. Livia ruled Rome as a power-crazed empress until her death on September 28, 29 AD, at the age of 87. Embittered by his mother's horrific personality, Tiberius refused to come to her funeral. The emperor claimed that he had a lot of work to do and sent Caligula in his stead. Caligula agreed and delivered the funeral oration. However, according to Suetonius' records, when she died and after waiting several days, during which we held out hope of the emperor's return, she was at last buried because the condition of the corpse made it necessary. After her death, the Senate attempted to grant Livia special honors, but the emperor vetoed all of them. He said that doing so would be against Livia's own instructions. In reality, he simply refused to honor his mother's will. Records of Livia's personality and life are contested. Some say she was an overpowering and domineering mother who only interfered with the emperor's decisions. Others portray her as a proud, humble, and faithful wife to the emperor. The Roman historian and politician Tacitus describes her as a real catastrophe to the nation as a mother and to the house of the Caesars as a stepmother in the book The Annals. According to him, Livia manipulated her husband Octavian like a puppet, forcing the emperor to exile his only living grandson to the Isle of Planasia. Tacitus said she was a compliant wife, but an overbearing mother. Despite all these conflicting records, one fact remains true. During her last years, Livia discovered the quote-unquote elixir of life. The Roman author and philosopher Pliny the Elder said that Livia attributed her long life of 87 years to drinking Vinium Pocinum, or Pulsino wine. The empress knew the wine had medicinal properties and recommended it to everyone. Pulsino wine no longer exists, but they say it was similar to modern-day Prosecco. Whether you love or hate her, Livia Drusilla used her beauty and charisma to become the first Roman empress, exercising unimaginable power that even the emperor couldn't halt. This is Uncharted History. See you in our next video.